Good morning, friends, and welcome to Sunday in the backyard today, back in the Corpus Christi, one of the places we generally post from. But for most of you that have been watching on a regular basis, you know that we are moving very soon. And so there's a lot of transition going on in our lives over here. But the very first thing I wanted to talk about, you guys know that I'm always going to want to talk about the weather, and particularly I want to send out some prayers, if you guys all would with me, really send out some loving energy and some prayers to our coastal neighbors over in Louisiana, as they are literally right now as we speak having a hurricane, Ida, enter the coast over there. And those of us here on the Bay Coast, the southern coast here in Corpus Christi Bay Area, Porter, all the way around Padre Island area over here, we know exactly what that feels like. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. this morning with an immediate thought that I wanted to check the radar, which is my internal indicator that just like if I was here at home and a hurricane was heading towards my coastline, I'd be curious to know, not curious, I'd be probably panicked looking for where it's going to go in at. How big is it going to come when it comes on land? And all of those types of things. So that energy that we feel is something that we completely understand. It's something we can completely empathize with. It's something we understand as it relates to the land we live on, the weather we participate in on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, the way we grow plants, how we take care of our animals. Everything about what's happening over there, we have empathy for. And because of that, these are the types of moments where we stop and take a second and send love to our neighbors, because we understand and feel and can embody exactly what they're experiencing right now. And we can actually help them through this dark night because we've been there and we know what it feels like, right? And that's why I do gardening the way that I do it. That's why I do the things the way that I do them. I do it because I want to inspire you to get through those tougher times, because on the other side of that storm, we all know that there is a whole lot of beauty, growth, and opportunities, right? Okay, so after we've gotten a little bit past that, we've been shooken by the storm that very easily could have come this direction but didn't this time. We take a deep breath. And let's think about our own land here and what we're doing on our own land here. And here in South Texas, it is time. I don't want to say it's urgent, but September 1st is in three days. 28, 29, 20, 30, 31, 1st. 3 days. September 1st. And that's time to plant if you're a gardener. If you grow market gardens, it's time to plant. So what are we doing about that? Well, number one, go ahead immediately and start planting all your baby seeds of things like any kind of eggplant, tomato, or pepper that you would like to experiment with. And I say experiment because I very much expect in this weather season that we are going to have freezes this season. We may have a light early freeze in November that will knock back tomatoes. It will stop the growth on eggplants, and it will stop the growth on peppers, okay? But it will kill the tomatoes, it will kill beans, it will kill squash. So keep all of that stuff in mind. But then I expect it to be a little bit of a harder winter. So if you're putting them into the ground, it is without a doubt an experiment. But some things you can do with smaller spaces that you have is go ahead and plant those seeds and keep them in pots. Now, as I've said over the year, when you container garden, you are more responsible for the wellness and the health of that plant. So it takes more of your attention. However, you can keep tomatoes and peppers and eggplants growing year round around here if you do a little bit of that type of management for it. So go ahead and get some of those seeds planted. Continue taking care of the plants that you have that are still doing well, because they're going to start setting fruit here in the next 5 to 6 weeks. Watch it happen. It's going to be so much fun to see that happening again. But then in addition to that, you're trying to get in those really long season broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, right? All of those things that are going to take maybe 100 days, and they need 100 days of some cooler temperatures too. So get those things done. So that's what you saw at the beginning of this, is me going ahead and going ahead and playing with a few of the peppers and the tomatoes. I'm also working with flowers. We're going to talk very much about the fall is the best time of year for us to plant our flowers, right? Because then we've got this really long season. Some of them won't do anything. They won't even put their green, and they certainly won't put their flowers on till the spring. But now's the time that you go ahead and get them in the ground. So like an artichoke is a flower, and I'm learning to play with different types of production flowers. And if you think about it, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, they're all flowers. You just happen to eat their greens, and you eat the green before the flower starts to open up. So these are the types of things we're beginning to plant right now to kind of get a little cheat on the weather that we're not 100% sure about what's about to come to us in this winter, right? Okay, and those are the long season things. That's why it's so important to do those types of things. And as I was mentioning the flowers, the part of the flowers, things you'll need to pay attention to when you're looking at your seed packages and you're preparing to plant your flowers for the whole year right now, you need to look at the seed packages and begin to understand which ones of the flowers will need to germinate by light, okay? And what it'll say is don't put any soil over the tops of those. Even some of the herbs are this way, the really good flowering herbs. They're going to be this same way. So all you're doing is sprinkling them on top of the little soil pot, and then you're spraying them with a nice little mister, okay? And I'm so excited that I figured out that this little hose that we have, it's an Orbit brand, actually has a perfect little mister on it. So it's made it easy for me to do some simple watering. And I'll come out here, especially when I'm trying to germinate some seeds. So like over here in this one, I've got some seeds that are germinating. I just want to make sure that I'm keeping those seeds moist all day in these temperatures. Now, one of the things I've already learned when I was playing with moving plants around is that we've really got to get these plants hardened off before we move them around, because it's so hot still, right? So when you're moving things around, when you're moving from, when you're taking, let's see, this would be a good example. When I'm taking this tomato plant right here and transferring it to its own independent pot, and yes, everything has true leaves on it, but they're really tall and spindly because they're stretching, because I'm trying to keep them in the shade a little bit because it's so hot, and they're reaching for the sun, but they're a little bit weak. And so needing to let them harden off is important, because otherwise you'll have a flat like that where you just didn't get enough water to them and it's just too hot. And so you ended up losing some of your little babies over there. You can see that I moved some Brussels sprouts that didn't make it. You can see that I moved some tomatoes, some eggplants, some peppers, and all that. So there's going to be hits or misses. It's hot, and if you don't have a perfect climate-controlled space to grow all of your baby seeds yet, put it in the visioning right there, right? Yet, then you use what you can, and you ultimately just reclaim what spaces you have available to do the best that you can do with what you're working with. So all of that being said, things that I'm going ahead and getting in the ground are some of my older seeds from last season, all of my flowers, all of my herbs. I'm putting all of that, I'm beginning to start all of that stuff in pots. I'm not putting anything like that in the ground yet. I'm even starting some of my kale along with the broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, all of those types of things. And then once we get just a little bit further into September, I'm gonna really start, I probably will take a soil, not a test, but a temperature gauge on the soil and get an idea, because the temperatures have not been so blazing hot this summer that we might have soil that we could actually plant in September, right? And so I'm day by day waiting to go into the soil. One of the ways you can do that is like going to the dollar store and getting some really, really inexpensive seeds that you're going to direct sow into the ground, and then make sure you got to germinate them, because in this temperature you got to make sure they're getting that moisture every single day to get them germinated. But if you give it a little test spot, then you can decide, okay, when's the week that I'm really, really ready to go in the ground. And that's going to be a lot of your root vegetables, to kind of catch it early in the season, as early as you can. Your radishes, your carrots, your beets, your turnips, all of that kind of stuff. And I've gone ahead and ordered like these pelleted carrot seeds, which are going to be really, really good for being able to really place them where I want to grow them, because carrot seeds are so small and broadcast. But if I'm testing a little space or a row or a plot, then getting some of those just really inexpensive imperial carrot, Dante carrot seeds, and just broadcasting them and then just germinating them and just seeing what you can get in terms of the soil temperature is good to, basically, this is our experiment time. Once September 1st starts all the way through October, that's what we're looking like. But for sure, I'm going to start planting plants in the ground in October and seeds in the ground in October. That's for sure going to be my roots this year. I'm going to go for roots first, and then I'll start planting more of my like green plants, lettuce, spinach, all of that type of stuff in about November. So that's really all I have for today. If you guys have questions about anything, always just feel free to drop them down here. I'll jump back into the Facebook comments when I can. And then when I get this put up on YouTube, I hope that if you're checking this out on YouTube, you'll just hit the subscribe button up there. Keeps me being able to put out more of this public information about all different types of gardening and gardening in your area. And I know it might be a little different where you are, but generally speaking, a lot of the techniques that we're using down here are pretty much the same, especially when you're talking about these climatic weather changes that we're having everywhere and the transition that many folks are making to permaculture gardening and regenerative agricultural again. So smash that subscribe button up there and ask me some questions in the comments below, and I'll do everything I can to get those answered for you. For the rest of you guys that are on here with me live, I love you all so much. I hope you have the best week ever, and be sure to check out the podcast, dinnertabletalks.com. You can access it from any app that you use to listen to podcasts or music. Bye, guys.